Hello, welcome to Grandma B's Busy Life. I'm Brenda, and we are talking about cooking through history today, and that is 1910 to 1920. This decade brought us some of our favorites that we still have today. In 1912, 4 amazing things came to the market. Oreos, Lorna Doone cookies, both from Nabisco, and the Whitman Sampler box of chocolates, and Lifesavers. All of them came in 1912. In 1916, we got Nathan's hot dogs. If you're not familiar with Nathan's hot dogs, you should be. They are the best hot dog ever. They were originally sold in Coney Island for 5 cents, and the original Nathan's hot dog stand is still in Coney Island, and you can still get hot dogs from it. Someday, I want to do that. In 1914, World War I began, and although the United States didn't join the war until 1917, we were still sending supplies overseas to support the war effort. But in 1917, we did join the war, and that's when a lot of things changed food-wise for our country. Our country needed supplies to support our troops. Our troops needed food so that they could be strong enough to fight. And the government had a major campaign to make that happen. One of the slogans was, "Food will win the war." The idea was if we could supply our soldiers with enough food to keep them strong, that then we could win the war. Families here in the States were encouraged to conserve everything. They were encouraged to eat stuff that was fresh, the fruit, the vegetables that they could grow on their land. They were encouraged to have a meatless Monday, and in that effort to provide extra meat for the soldiers. If all of the United States did not eat meat on Monday, then all of that meat could be sent to our soldiers. And the meat that was sent to the soldiers was often dried or canned because it was easy to transport. They wanted people back home to be eating all of those fresh items because they were harder to ship. A box of apples is perishable, so they were encouraged to eat what was fresh now and preserve everything that they could not eat. So a lot of canning and bottling happened during this time. They also were encouraged to use corn instead of wheat. Wheat was something that could be shipped to the soldiers and used for their food. So people here at home were encouraged to use corn and potatoes for their cooking instead of flour. And a lot of recipes that would normally use flour, they used either cornmeal or potatoes. Today I'm going to make a spudnut, which is a donut made from potatoes. Potatoes were a great substitute for wheat, and so they were used many times in bread products. I first found this recipe from Glen and Friends Cooking on YouTube, and I'll link his channel below. He does a lot of historical cooking, and I really love his channel. He got this recipe from the 5 Roses Cookbook, and it was published in 1915. I've got 2 cups of mashed potatoes. These do not have butter or salt or milk or anything in them. But I'm sure you could use leftover mashed potatoes, and I'm betting that's what they did in 1915 because they were trying to keep from wasting anything. This calls for 2 cups of sugar. This is a 1/2 cup measurement, so I'm going to put in 4. That seems like a lot of sugar, right? Okay, there's 2 tablespoons of mostly melted butter. And then 1 cup of milk. The recipe says 1 cup sweet milk. I don't know what that means. But I'm just using regular milk. Right around this time, a lot of the recipes switched from using yeast to using baking soda and baking powder. So this is a non-yeast recipe. Okay, it calls for 1 teaspoon of salt, and 5 teaspoons of baking powder. If these don't rise, I'll be shocked with that much baking powder. And then it says enough flour to make a soft dough. And it says to use 5 roses flour, but I don't have 5 roses flour. I'm just going to start with a couple of scoops here to get it started. Okay, I'm going to just dump it out onto the board. And it says to roll it out, but I'm just going to press it out. As evenly as possible. Now I'm going to cut it out. This is my fancy donut cutters. This is just a cup, and then this is my Elvis shot glass from the guest house when I went to Memphis with my mom, which was fun. Nope, that's not going to work. I'm going to have to get a smaller center. This isn't any smaller than my Elvis cup. Oh well. I'm going to fry the donut holes first, because I'm in charge and I can do what I want. Alright, here's how you test if your oil's hot enough. Take a little piece of dough, drop it in. If it sizzles right away, then it's ready. Alright, so I'm just going to drop all these donut holes in. I don't want to overcrowd the pan because it'll reduce the temperature of the oil too fast. Cook them till they're golden brown on one side and then flip them over until they're golden brown on the other. Alright, I'm just put it on the paper towel. Oh, they look amazing. I'm going to try some donuts now. Here are the donuts. I have a whole tray of regular donuts. I have some donut holes, and then I also cut some bars. I just flattened out what was left and then just sliced it up so that it was in bars. These ended up taking about a minute per side. So the oil was hot enough that they browned golden in about 1 minute on each side. These donuts turned out really good. I've already tried 2. 1 donut hole and 1 long donut, and they are so good. They're a little sweeter than I expected. For a time when they were supposed to be conserving sugar, it surprises me that this recipe called for so much sugar. And in fact, if I were to make it again, I would probably cut the sugar in half and then coat them with sugar after I took them out of the oil. I didn't coat these with sugar after I took them out of the oil because I thought about conserving sugar to match the time, but they don't need extra sugar on the outside. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Cooking Through History. Have a great day. See you again soon.